getaway tonight takes to the air, ballooning over the West Country, and takes to the water here at high speed in the Midlands. Down at Cirencester, there's the annual gathering of hot air balloonists. This is not only a very beautiful sport as they drift in the air above the West Country, but it's also a very tricky one, and we're risking singeing the beard of Michael Frostick as he takes to the air in one of these balloons. Well, we'll be going down to the West Country later on, but we begin up here in the Midlands at Chasewater for the 1974 British Grand Prix. You could almost say this is for the kind of Formula One boats, up to 2 litres. This is the oldest established international powerboat race in Britain. When it began in 1958, the boats were lapping around this 1.5-mile course at 30 miles an hour. Today, they will certainly be doing that, in excess of that, in excess of some 75, almost 80 miles. Now, let's have a look at this course around which they have to bomb for 1.5 hours. It's a 1.5 mile long course, and here it is. It starts off opposite at the bottom there, and it goes for 500 yards up to the second buoy at the Hednesford Road. That's a tight left-hander, down another 500 yards opposite the Sailing Club, the number 3 buoy, and then it's quite a long straight, 700 yards down to the 4th buoy, tight left-hander again for a very short 100-yard spurt, left-handed again, 700 yards, and back to the beginning. Well, that's 1.5 miles, and if you've ever wondered what it felt like to go around that in a minute or just over a minute, let's get on board now with Tom Percival as he takes you round on his boat called Lord Player. Tom Percival is our British national champion, and we could go around in no safer hands than his.
Now, as we come into the tower turn, it's essential that we trim the boat out with the engine to give maximum lift and float around the buoy, which it's doing. And as we come into the straight again, I must drop the front down to get the thing from riding too high. And as we come down the back straight, she's bouncing a little bit, but we're nevertheless doing 7,400 revs, which is probably a speed of a little over 100 miles an hour. We'd like to try and get rid of this bounce a bit, which is mainly caused through rather a lot of fuel on board. At the start of this race, we should have something on 28 gallons of petrol in the boat, which is making it very heavy, and the fuel is surging about in the fuel tank. The whole essence of driving this is to have a complete feel over the boat, over the machine. You've got to be able to float it on the turns without having too much slide, because putting in too much slide, you're going to drift it away from the course of the race.
Tom Percival, the British national champion, taking you round the course. Now let's meet some of the other international drivers here. Kees van der Velde, the 1972 world champion, driving a Molinari with this Mercury engine, but we don't have the new engine on it yet.
No, first things we have a little problems, and they are not really ready, but after Bristol we find out that we don't really need them to run them against V6s from OMC, you know.
How does Chasewater differ, for example, from Bristol?
Oh, it's a lot different course. Bristol is a tight course, you know, small, rough. This is a course on, it's one big circle, you can say, you know, and this water is smooth, only you got little problems with wind over here. But this is a lot faster course.
In terms of setting the boat up here for Chasewater, how does it differ from, for example, we saw you in the Paris race where you came a very notable second last year?
Yeah. This is not as long as Paris, so you set up a much faster race. We hope that it'll be some bit calmer by the look of the weather. So I think our times will be a lot faster, so we set up for some bit more speed.
You set your propeller up for high gear too?
Yeah, use larger propellers, give you more speed.
Where's the difficult part of this course? Is it that little short of about 100 yards between 4 and 5?
Yeah, it depends very much on the way the wind is lying. It's blowing across the course, and I think trying to boats float round the buoys, and trying to float a boat round this buoy just out here opposite timing control is very hard when there's a crosswind.
Tony Fay, this is your first year in the big league. How are you enjoying it?
Oh, it's great. This is young.
You were 4th at Bristol.
Yeah.
What effect has that had upon your career?
Oh, big difference. Getting a lot of help, mechanics helping, things that I couldn't get before, I'm getting them now, so fantastic. This is
What do you feel when you're in that boat going around here at Chasewater?
Nothing really, only when someone's passing me. Then I know I've got to put my foot down a little bit more and a little bit more. It's exhilarating, it's fantastic. You know,
What do you get out of this sport, you yourself?
A big thrill, you know, you're racing against the top world drivers, and if you can keep up with them, that's fantastic. You know, it's there all the time. You just got to be a little bit better every time you go out.
Kees van der Velden, Bob Spalding and Tony Fay, just three of the drivers in today's big race, which is previewed for us now by our race commentator, John Reed.
Here at Chasewater, it's a complete contrast to last week at Bristol. The Bristol course was short, tight and twisty. Here it's a large, wide expanse of water. Last week, the dangers for the drivers were that they would get out of control and hit the dock wall. Here the danger to the driver is that he's tempted to go too fast. The place is big, the straights look long, and of course they put their foot down, the boat goes away, and eventually a boat reaches a terminal velocity beyond which it won't go. Another of the interests here at Chasewater is that this race has been open to inboard engine boats. And here behind me is a typical American engine craft with a 300 horsepower engine. A lot more horsepower than the comparative outboard engines that we saw running last weekend. What is going to be the outcome? It would be very interesting indeed if the inboard engines could show the outboards the way around. An hour or two and it will show. The leader with one lap having gone, private entrant Tony Fay. In his first season of international racing, Tony Fay has leapt to immense notice. Driving magnificently last week at Bristol, he's shot into the lead. What a magnificent start he must have got to have pulled out a lead, which must be about 50 yards. But we notice that right second behind him is the ex-world champion Kees van der Velden. This battle has developed right from the start and looks like going to be a right ding-donger.
Coming up at the end of the first lap, and his time is 1 minute and 5 seconds.
Tom Percival into the pits. This is the problem that he knew he was going to have. This was going to be the snag, whether he could get his engine to start. They've swum out to him, his mechanics have stripped off, gone out to get him and bring him back into the pits to see if they can get the engine started.
And here's the leader, Kees van der Velden, who's just taken over now from Tony Fay down that back straight. And here he goes now. Past the start, that's his lead. Up at the Hendersworth bend now. And it's Kees van der Velden that's going out in front. Tony Fay chasing him. Bob Spalding has now come into second place and taken it over from Tony Fay. But the leader is way, way out in front. He's a whole lap and a half up on these two. But Bob Spalding is after him, even though he is 1.5 laps down. And the leader is lapping in 1 minute exactly.
And now with Mercury's first and second, Bob Spalding is showing a few of the lessons that he learnt in America. He was in the States during 1973 working for Mercury's, and no doubt that the hours and hours he spent testing new boats are showing to advantage.
Here's the big inboard that we were taking a look at just now. Well, what do you think? What kind of chance do you think this one's got, John, really?
Very interesting, this boat, because it's powered by a 300 horsepower American V8 engine. It's got a lot more horsepower than most of the outboards, but of course it's a very much bigger and heavier boat. Undoubtedly he would have preferred the conditions a lot rougher and tougher than they are today. As you can see, the water is quite calm, and this large course is pretty well dead flat and is giving no problems at all to the competing boats. Bill Brown undoubtedly would wish for it blowing half a gale.
But he does make the point. This is very much an experimental boat. This is the first time he's raced in 3 years, he was telling me.
It's a very interesting boat. A lot of people wonder whether the big inboards can be developed to get to such a stage that they can compete with the outboards. And of course, if we can get inboards going properly, then Great Britain is going to be in a good position with her racing car engines. A good Cosworth racing car engine of 2 litres might quite be something in one of those boats.
There we have the first and second absolutely together. Kees van der Velden is, however, 2 laps up on Bob Spalding, who's in number 1. Kees van der Velden's now got to hold on to this for the next 25 minutes. That's how long he's got. But this is the moment, John, I think, when their concentration will begin to waver, if at all.
The hour time is always the danger spot. This is when rescue crews pull themselves certainly more awake than they've been all the day. The hour seems to be the time when drivers get tired and their concentration begins to waver. And conducting a boat round this course at speeds certainly of over 100 miles an hour needs split-second reaction and concentration the whole way. The top drivers, of course, are top drivers because their concentration doesn't waver. But this is the moment when we've all got our fingers crossed.
It does seem here that Kees van der Velden is taking the inside. He seems to be taking the tighter line all the way around here.
I think he is. Kees van der Velden is showing the form that did make him the world champion in 1972. In boat number 1, Bob Spalding, of course, is desperately trying to pick up a little bit of this lead that Kees van der Velden has on him. In fact, Kees van der Velden is, as we've just heard, 2 laps ahead of Bob Spalding. Bob wants to try and pull this back as much as he can. Kees, of course, is not going to let him have it, and Kees has got the inside berth. No matter that he's got 2 laps on it, he's not going to give him an inch of water. Kees van der Velden just overtaking the only inboard which has run steadily but unspectacularly. This 300 horsepower American engine boat is way down the field, but at least it's got the satisfaction of completing the hour and a half.
And there goes the cannon. We're just waiting now for the boat to come through. Here it is. Following. Very happy man indeed. As he comes round on his very last lap, he goes through and he waves. Kees van der Velden is the winner, and he completes 88 laps.
It's Sunday at Chasewater and it's looking like rain. This year's Grand Prix has been divided into 2 days racing. Yesterday we all saw Kees van der Velden from Holland win the race, and a much larger crowd than Saturday is gathered here to see what today is going to bring. There are 4 boats which are non-started owing to mechanical problems, by far the most serious of which is Tony Fay, who finished yesterday in 3rd place. Unfortunately, after the racing was finished, he sank while trying to get into the pits, and he is away from Chasewater. So those are the prospects, 13 boats on the grid. Let's go to the start now. And here is drama right at the start for the previous world champion, Kees van der Velden from Holland. The winner of the Saturday race left at the pits while the field streams away. The leading boat now a good half a lap up ahead of him. There he is. There's the leading boat. It's number 1, Bob Spalding from Great Britain, driving from the players' team. His boat is a Molinari. The engine is a Mercury. He's pulled out a lead of perhaps about 50 or 60 yards straight away. This could well be a turn-up for the British. The British, of course, want to have a British winner of this Grand Prix, and of course the results of yesterday's race and today's race are taken together. There's the leader, boat number 1, Bob Spalding, now pulled out 100 yards lead at least over the rest of the field and powering away. He must be wondering where is Kees van der Velden, his arch rival. Well, Kees must be about a mile behind him. Can this be the upset that we're looking for? Boat number 2, Jeff Edwards, driving the Yardley-sponsored Johnson-driven, and 4 is going past. Alf Bullen is pulling up alongside on the long back straight, but Jeff Edwards is on the inside, and it's the bends that that count. Jeff is on the inside, but it's Jeff on the inside. Jeff has kept the inside. A fine display by Jeff Edwards, who hung on grimly to the inside berth. Alf tried hard to push through, but he simply couldn't do it. Now he's having to go on the straight. Superb bit of driving by Jeff Edwards, who hung on to that inside course, wouldn't be pushed out by Alf Bullen, hung on to it and managed to hold on to his 5th place. Tremendous battle going on here down the field. The very large crowd assembled here at Chasewater, undoubtedly on their toes watching this. Down the back straight, down the long back straight, it's still Jeff hanging on to that inside course. Bullen pushing away, he's tried on a couple of occasions to take the inside berth off Edwards, but no way. Now Alf Bullen trying hard on the outside. It looks as if he's going through. It looks as if he's going through, but still Jeff Edwards is hanging onto that inside corner, takes the inside berth. Alf has had to go on the outside. Jeff Edwards and boat number 2 still hanging onto it, but it's all so close now, and Alf Bullen's going through. Alf Bullen in boat number 4 goes through to take 5th place. But it's not over yet. Neck and neck, they come down past the straight, neck and neck, but Alf's gone through by a typical Alf Bullen manoeuvre of pulling the nose of his boat up high. He sailed it past into 5th place. With 50 minutes gone of this 1.5-hour race, it looks as if we're about to get a change of the leader. Bob Spalding in boat number 1, who's led from the gun, is in serious mechanical trouble. Quite probably there is a problem with the power head, because as he goes past you can see the engine shaking from side to side. In 2nd place, Kees van der Velden in boat number 3 is now less than 10 seconds behind him. Gone, and the lead is about to change. Bob Spalding came past the pit area and has stopped. Boat number 3, there he is, Kees van der Velden into the lead with 55 minutes gone, 52 laps of this 1.5-mile circuit completed, and the leader, who has led right from the gun, Bob Spalding in boat number 1, has stopped completely, pulled off the course. There was the ex-leader, boat number 1, Bob Spalding, turning back, coming into the pits in dire trouble. And we've got another battle developing. The battling Bullen from London now charging through the field to challenge for 2nd place. Boat number 11, Clive Hook, moved up into 2nd place when Tom Percival and Bob Spalding both retired. But right behind him, coming up through the field at an enormous rate, boat number 4, Alf Bullen, challenging for 2nd place. Alf Bullen, a completely unsponsored, unworked driver, is driving the race of his life, coming up to the sort of result that he's knocked on the door for so long, moving up into 2nd place, and there he goes, boat number 4, Alf Bullen, moves into 2nd place ahead of boat number 11, Clive Hook. On his last lap, there he is, the leader, Kees van der Velden from Holland, a radio dealer by trade, who in the last few stages of this race has been quite invincible. He's now 6 laps up in the lead from, in 2nd place, boat number 4, Alf Bullen, a private entrant and the first of the British. In 3rd place, boat number 2, Jeff Edwards, also a British driver. In 4th place, boat number 11, and they're all Britishers from now on, Clive Hook in 4th place, and in 5th place, boat number 1, Bob Spalding, the early leader. This race has been filled with drama and excitement right from the start. Bob Spalding in boat number 1 took a lead, quite convincing lead, which he pulled out to about 3/4 of a lap. However, at about the halfway stage, things started to go wrong with Bob Spalding's motor, and for several laps we were treated to a series of lap signals indicating that all was not well. Lo and behold, after another couple of laps, Bob Spalding was in the pits, a propeller change, and during that time, Kees van der Velden swept into this convincing lead, a lead which he certainly is in no doubt that he's going to have. He's still lapping at under the minute. Last lap we had on him was 59 seconds. 59 seconds of this 1.5-mile circuit, Chasewater in the Midlands of Great Britain, has put on perhaps one of the best British Grand Prix we've ever known, and there goes the gun for the signal. There the checkered flag is out, and we are waiting now for Kees van der Velden boat number 3 to take the checkered flag. He's still on his last lap. He has to come the full way round to take the checkered flag. He's on the back straight, accelerating up there. He doesn't know that the race is over, accelerating up to 100 miles an hour. For the last time, he takes the long, sweeping bottom end turn as he straightens himself up for the last run-up to the pit area. Here he is, boat number 3, Kees van der Velde, the overall winner of the 1974 British Grand Prix here at Chasewater. There have been, of course, a lot of races in England now. The only other ones are towards the end of the season. Are you going to Paris and Windermere?
Yeah, Paris, Windermere definitely. We're going to drive there our new engines, the T3, who was a lot faster than this one. I think maybe in 30, 40 miles different in speed, you know, and we're going to drive that stuff over there.
What news of the T3s?
About the engine I can't say nothing because I don't know what it is, you know, but they are very secret with it. But it's a very powerful engine, and against this engine, who has 200 horse, I think the T3 will have about 340 horsepower. And this boat is doing 110 miles an hour, and the boat we're using with the T3 is, I think, close to 130 miles an hour top speed. You know, and that makes it hard to drive. A little more risk, a little more dangerous, you know.
The sound and fury of the 1974 Grand Prix for powerboats dies away on Chasewater here, and in the place of the powerboats come the sailing boats from the Chase Sailing Club at the top end. And